Hello once again for the 5th instalment of my review week, and today we have got quite a large locomotive again, and we've got the GWR 28XX locomotive. This one is a weathered edition. Again, it's kind of factory finished weathering, the way Hornby does it. So you'll see once I've opened it up what the weathering kind of looks like. Slide that out. So the usual Hornby malarkey on there as well. And an interesting thing about this specific locomotive is it had a smoke unit. When I bought it, you do get like the pipette and the oil that comes with it as well, but I myself didn't kind of fancy the smoke unit, so I removed it quite simply. It's not a hard thing to remove. You just basically have to remove the body and it comes off nice and simply. So we'll start with the tender, and this is a tender drive locomotive, so the motor is housed inside here. And it is quite a weighty tender. Again, the main reason is because it's got the motor in there. It's got nice the brake rigging on here as well, with the fake coal, moulded coal on the top. Always nice to see. And on the side, you do see the kind of the brief weathering finish on the side. And it's not heavily weathered, but there is signs of weathering there as well. It's the BR black finish with the lake crest on there as well. At the back, unfortunately, you don't get sprung buffers. They're just the fixed moulded buffers, and then you've got fat coupling as well, and then you've got the separate vacuum pipe fitting on there. Again, it's quite a simple tender. There's nothing kind of special about it except it's just got the motor inside. And this is the Ringfield motor, which some people don't fancy, but anyway, move aside from that, let's go to the actual locomotive itself. So here we are. The main thing you do notice about this specific locomotive is because it's tender, this actual locomotive itself has kind of got no weight to it at all, which bearing in mind it is a freight locomotive, and you would think it wants to have haul kind of heavy loads, and I mean it does, but compared to the 9F, which is an awful lot less money, and you know, less detailed kind of thing, you would expect that not to pull as much. But from experience, this can pull probably about 6 or 7 coaches, approximately maybe 30 wagons at a push, but you would expect it to pull more. Anyway, let's start from the front. You get, for some reason, Hornby decided to fit a NEM kind of coupling here and then a fat one on the tender. Don't ask me why. No sprung buffers, and you can see the number on the smoke box door there, which is 2836. And you've got kind of a separate handrail which runs all the way along the front and down the sides, which is nice. You've got the wheel arrangement. Again, these wheels are free because it's not powered at all. These merely just pick up electricity, and you can see there that the connecting rods are also weathered, and along the bottom you've kind of just got kind of very light weathering on there as well. The smoke unit again would be fitted. The smoke does come out the chimney, which is nice to see. And when you do get power onto it, just from here and in the cab, the hole there, you've got a firebox light which does flicker when you apply power to it. Unfortunately, this is only DC and it's not DCC ready at all. I'm sure you can kind of wire up a DCC decoder to it. You've got separate etched number plate on there, which is also nice to see, and you've got the C, or is it the C? No, it's E. E marked above that. Again, I'm not quite sure what that means. Not sure if it's a shed code or something like that. Again, so the Tender coupling, that's electrified, again because this primarily can pick up power, which is nice to see as well. On the other side, you've got a separate kind of the brake rod fitting on there, and again you've got kind of this more light weathering on the wheels and the connecting rods as well. Again, it's not amazingly detailed, it's not anything that special, but again it is, again, does size up towards the 9F, and the 9F is the biggest that I've got, but this is kind of a match for it. It is quite a large locomotive, again primarily used as a freight, which is also quite a nice locomotive to have on a layout. Anyway, enough of me blabbling on, let's go and see what she runs like. Okay, so now we've got the 28XX now on the track, and again like the 9F that you'll probably see in another of my videos, once she's actually on the track she does look very kind of huge and bulky, like any freight locomotive should look, which is a nice thing to see. Anyway, let's send her off around the track and see what she runs like. Again, like my 9F, she is quite responsive to power. I mean, that's barely off the mark and she's already going quite fast. Now, so that ring-filled motor does make quite a lot of noise. Just to point out. Now let's slow her right down. See how slow she can really go. Ooh, it's a bit juddery. Let's show off her firebox feature. So if I take just the motor off, I think because this is independent, there you go. Got the nice little firebox flicker, you can see it from there. And then from the rear, in the cab, you can see the flicker there. Again, unfortunately, like I said, this is only DC, so it's kind of, the more power you give it, the brighter it gets. Like that. Yeah, it's a nice little feature to have anyway. But of course, once you've stopped, like that, when there's no power, the light goes off. But it is a nice feature to have. Just put her tender back on, like that. Okay, so without further ado, let's hook her up to the teaks over there and see what she runs like with those. Alrighty, so here's the 28XX hooked up to the rake of teaks. So let's send her off around the layout. Here she goes. She's off quite quickly. Again, she doesn't need a lot of power to get her going. It's nice to see kind of a freight locomotive hauling coaches. She looks very strong when pulling these. And you can vaguely see at some points when she does turn, you can see that firebox flicker. Slow right down. I'll slow pass. The ring-filled motors are good, I suppose, for slow running. Oh, slow down even further. I suppose that shows he's on the curve. Come on, keep going, come on. There we go. Right, we'll bring it to a stop round about here. And there we are. So this was the 26 or 28XX class locomotive by Hornby. Again, great locomotive overall. The only things I can fault her on is that sometimes predictable ring-filled motor. Nice little additions to it, like the smoke box light and the smoke generator. And you've got a lot of space to work with in that, so you can, if you want quite a cheap model, you can buy it, fit sound decoder to it, a good smoke unit, and you can upgrade kind of that smoke box flicker as well, and add a bit more weathering to it. And I think for the good enthusiast who will want to do things like that to a locomotive, you can end up with an even better locomotive than what it is. But for what it is, I think it is a great model for the price that you can get it at. I think the tender drive is kind of being phased out a bit now, and I think the loco drive locomotives are slightly better and a bit more detailed. But for what it is, I think it is a great locomotive, and I would recommend it to those people looking for kind of a freight locomotive to have on their layout. And thanks for watching this instalment, guys. Look out for the next part.